I'm going to assume that you already know and appreciate that being in front of 150 new audiences could make you wildly successful. And it's a lot easier to share the same valuable message with 150 different audiences than trying to come up with 150 different valuable messages for the same audience. And that is why I've got more than 150 podcast credits to my name. See, I used to run a couple podcasts, and it was mostly focused on guest interviews and sharing my thoughts and ideas, kind of like what I do here on YouTube, but on a more regular, structured kind of way. And it was a huge hassle trying to find guests and schedule them and make sure that they showed up on time. And then some of the guests that I would get weren't really all that great. Maybe they would have a great message, but their audio was horrible. And maybe they took a long time to schedule, and then it's the day that we're supposed to be recording, and it's between me and traveling and doing shows and them traveling and doing stuff, and then, oh, we have to cancel, and then it's another 6 months, but then I was betting on this conversation to edit tomorrow to post the next day, and it just got to be a huge headache. And that's why I realized, wait a minute, if I'm a guest on other people's podcasts, I can help make their life easier by being a really good guest. And also, I get to share the same stories with different people. And all I have to do is show up and be me. That sounds like so much more fun than running my own podcast. And that's when I decided I'm only going to be a guest, not a host. And that's when I started racking up all the podcast appearance credits. And I, as of this recording, have been on, I think it's 158 podcasts. And there are a lot of things that I do to make that happen. And if you want to appear on more podcasts and better quality podcasts, this video is for you. So we'll be going over a whole bunch of stuff top to bottom, and I hope you stick around for it because we're getting into it right now. Hi, hello, yes, welcome. My name is Jonathan Pritchard from iCanReadMinds.com, and these are the top 10, 11, however many it winds up being, details that I think make a huge difference in helping you get booked on more podcasts. The number one thing is be good at something. You don't have to be the world's absolute best. Now, that really would help, but you at least have to be good at something. And that good doesn't have to be all that great to be a lot better than most people on planet Earth. So, if you're good at something, you might have the curse of knowledge, and I've made a whole video about that, and hopefully I will have a link to that in the hoop-de-doop below. And if you are good at something, you might forget just how much time and effort it took to get good at doing that thing. So you might have a lot more to share with folks than you think, but you at least have to be good enough for somebody to find it interesting. So if what you're good at is wild and wacky, that's good. If it helps people make a lot of money, that's good. If it helps them live happier, more meaningful lives, that's good too. If it helps them improve their health and wellness, that's good as well. So if you can cover any of those bases, you're off to a good start. The second detail is to share that message as often as you can in a lot of different places. I've done a 6C content generating system video, and that will help you out a lot in getting your ideas out into the world where people can recognize that, oh, okay, this is the person I need to know for this particular topic. So if you are already making videos, writing articles, writing books, and sharing your thoughts and ideas that way, you've got a bigger surface area for a podcast host to see what you're all about. Because if you are an unknown quantity, it's more difficult for a host to say yes to investing the time in scheduling and booking you on the show and editing and then promoting you to their audience. So if they can't find anything about you, if you're not on social media, you don't have a website, you're not sharing ideas, it's going to be a much tougher sell. So make things easy on you, make things easy on the host, be easy to find, be easy to understand what it is that you're all about and why they might want to invite you on their show. And in order to do that, you have to define your unique selling position or what makes you unique. What is your angle? My angle is that for 15 years, I've been a full time touring professional mind reader, that I've toured the world, amazing audiences of all kinds, making them think that I can read minds. But it's really all communication skills, showmanship, and moxie, and the principles I'm using on stage can apply in life and business, off stage and in the boardroom. So, my take is on better business through applied psychology from the lessons I've learned on stage and on the road, and how companies can put that to use in their own branding, marketing, sales, negotiations, presentation skills, that kind of stuff. Because who wouldn't want to hire a mind reader to tell them what their partners are thinking, what their customers are thinking, what the competitors are thinking? So that is a pretty unique angle. There aren't that many mentalists in the world, and I'm one of the few mentalists who also speaks business. So use that Venn diagram overlap of interests that you have, and pretty soon you'll be able to find a way of presenting your interests in a way that makes you the only person in the world who can talk about the way that all these things overlap and the lessons that I could use in my own life to help solve some big problems that you're really good at solving. Then you have to create a compelling pitch. You have to offer yourself to the host in a way that helps them understand why they should invite you on, what the audience is going to get out of having you as a guest, and what your fame or expertise is that would justify bringing them on. And also, there's a whole art form to pitching different guests or pitching different hosts of different kinds of shows, because your same message, if it helps people of all different sorts, you'll still have to tailor it to each podcast and the focus of that podcast for the kind of audience that would be interested in a show like the one that you're trying to pitch. So please do not, for any reason, send the same message to everybody. It will get ignored by everybody. Think sniper, less shotgun. You absolutely have to customize every single message to every single host for that specific person. And the best way to do that is to actually listen to their show. Be familiar with them, their values, their principles, what it is they're trying to build, and the audience that they're connecting with. And then think about, is this an audience I would want to be in front of? Is there anything that I can help them with? Is there something that I'm the best qualified to help them solve or understand about their life? Then absolutely, by all means, go for it. But what you can't do is just copy and paste in the same message to everybody and expect to get a positive response. So imagine that your pitch got through and they are entertaining the idea of bringing you on. They go, sure, let's have you on. They are going to want and they need material from you to help them set up the show. That takes the form of high quality headshots, something that is going to represent you in a good light beyond a low quality Facebook photo that's 400 by 400 pixels when the show image and the featured image has to be 2000 pixels at least. So if you give them a grainy image to begin with, it's going to make you look not that great, and then it's going to make the show look not that great, and then they're going to have to work even harder to make you look like somebody that they would be proud to present, and then that sounds like a lot of work, and you're making it more difficult for them to bring you on than the benefit you're bringing, and suddenly you're not going to be on the show anymore. So have high quality headshots, have a bio. You could even have two bios. You could have a short bio and a longer bio, depending on which one they want to go for. Here is a personal branding secret that is hidden in the middle of this video. So if you've made it this far, this might be the most valuable piece of information out of the entire video. And that is you get to write your own bio. Now, some hosts will do enough research to be familiar enough with your work to come up with their own introduction. However, a lot of hosts are busy professionals just like you, and they will gladly accept the bio that you've written for yourself about yourself. And then that person, that host, is going to read the words you wrote to describe you. So you can present yourself in the way that you want to be presented using the words that help communicate your skills and your value to the marketplace the best way possible. And then once the host says that, you can now say, host of this show says that I'm the best at these things. And now it's not just you saying it, this host says it. Then when you're on the other show, you can craft a compelling bio that presents another dimension of how good you are at what you do. And now, if it was just you saying it, it's bragging. But if it's other people saying it, it's evidence, right? Remember that in a court of law, if you try to defend yourself, it's just hearsay, it's inadmissible, it is not evidence. But if somebody else talks about you, it is admissible in court. It is evidence that can be used to convict you in a court of awesome, of being amazing. So you can use that bio inception for your own purposes, and that, if you know how to leverage that properly, can be worth a a lot of money and opportunities. Now, once it is time to be on the podcast, be a great podcast guest. And that means having your tech down pat. Use earbuds, use headphones. Do not use Bluetooth earbuds. I could talk for hours about all the ways that I see guests fumble at the last yard line of being on a show, but then their tech choices completely undermine their authority. So please, for the love of all that's good in the world, use wired headphones, use wired microphones, be in a quiet space, have good lighting, have a good camera that shows you as the handsome, beautiful person that you are. Make sure that you clean the lens before recording starts, because if it looks cloudy, it's probably because your greasy fingers have been all over it, especially if you are using a laptop. For some reason, the lens is dead center, and that's where you open the laptop. So your thumb has been putting grease on the lens every time you open your laptop. And that's why your image looks weird and cloudy. It's because of your greasy fingers. So that's the tech side of it. The other side is to know how to talk at length, how to share stories in an interesting way, how to have a little bit of energy beyond what you might have on a like a personal just hanging out level, because you want to communicate that enthusiasm for your message. And if you don't believe in your message and you just want to get by on the merits of the idea, then people are going to just drop out, right? Like be a fan of your own ideas and help communicate that energy and enthusiasm about being able to dive into such interesting, difficult problems and help people see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like be a champion for yourself and be enthusiastic about what it is that you're sharing with the world. On the other side of that is know how to speak in sound bites, how to stick the landing when you do come to the conclusion of an idea, know how to land it, and then leave space for the host to edit that in or to jump in with a question that kind of thing. One of the worst sins you could possibly have is to say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking so long." Or go, "Yes, I grew up in North Carolina." And that's it. Those one word short sentence answers, like, no, I'm literally inviting you on my podcast to share your thoughts. And we've got a whole hour to fill. And we just went through the 5 questions I had to ask you. And we now have 53 more minutes to cover. Ooh, this is going to be difficult. So don't be that guest for your host. Be able to speak at length, share interesting ideas and stories, and to go wherever the host likes to go. After you've been on the podcast and it airs, the next thing to do is to share that with your audience and to be a fan of the show that you've just been on. So I always like to tell a host when it's at the end and we're about to wrap up and they go, "Okay, well, we're about 6 months out or a couple weeks out. That's when it will air." I always say, "Just tell me when it goes live and I will put it into my cycle of shameless self-promotion." I would love to tell the world about it, and then do it. Put it out to your email list, put it on social media, put it as an appearance on your website. It is a wonderful, wonderful gold mine if you are a content creator, and I hope you are, going back to that 6C system, then other appearances on podcasts can then turn into your content because you're talking about the experience you had on the podcast and how delightful the host was and the interesting conversation that you had and the bizarre ideas you had never entertained, but the host did such a good job of asking you about them that it opened up your mind to a whole new whatever. There's so much that you could get from every single appearance that why wouldn't you be doing that? And then sharing that appearance is one small part of it that means a lot to the host. And then your future hosts that are going to have you on see that you encourage your audience to go check out different podcasts that you've been on. That means a lot to the host who's trying to reach new audiences as well. And one of the last ideas is to continually improve. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to straight up ask the host, "Hey, I'm really, really interested in being a better guest, and I would love to have your thoughts, genuine, honest feedback on what I could do to be a better guest." And they're probably going to tell you. Now, remember that honesty is one of the most expensive things in the entire universe, which is why you usually have to pay for it. Your friends and family rarely are super honest with you because you know what? You're not paying them for it. And if they tell you the truth, they're going to pay dearly for it. And that's why consultants get paid a lot of money to come in and say what everybody else has been saying already. It's because the honesty is, again, like I said, the most expensive thing in the world. So please do not punish the host for being honest with you. Do not argue. Do not debate. Do not try to make a case for, "Oh, well, I was trying to do it this way," or "I think you're wrong. It's really this way." You asked them to tell you, they told you. Your job is to say, "Thank you so much for that feedback. I will absolutely take that under consideration." Now, it might be considered completely useless feedback, but if you start hearing that same thing from multiple hosts, you've got something to work on. So be gracious enough to be trusted with their honesty and don't make them pay dearly for being honest with you. So ask for the feedback, take it, say thank you. I'll take that under consideration. I genuinely appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and leave it at that. So, those are the major things that I've done in my time as a podcast guest to appear on more than 150 podcasts. And there are two last details that I want to share. And the first is, well, the first last detail of however many we've gone over, which is to join a podcast listing or a podcast listing platform, whatever you want to call it, where podcast hosts and podcast guests can set up their own profile and then get to know each other. The one that I've been on that I've seen the most value out of is podcastguests.com. I'm not sponsored by them. I've actually been a paying member since day one, and it has been around for quite a while. And I think there are more than 40,000 users or something on there. It is wild. You can find all sorts of different podcasts. You can find all sorts of different guests. So if you want to be a guest, put your profile up there. And if you want to get the paid profile, like I have for a long time, you can be included in an email that goes out. And then you'll have a whole bunch of different shows saying, hey, I saw your profile, looks super interesting. You look like one of the only people in the world who could talk to me about the psychology of mind reading and how we could apply that to being a better physician or being a better marketer or whatever. That's my angle. So if that's your angle, cool. The world's big enough for the both of us, but hopefully you've got your own angle. Go get on podcastguests.com, set up your profile there, and then that can act as your home base if you don't already have a website where you are aggregating all of your content to begin with, even though I would highly suggest that you do have a website as well for longer form stuff beyond just listing, here are the questions you can ask me. Here are the podcasts I've been on. Here's what I will do to help promote you. So that is hyper focused on being a great guest. And then the website will help the host see that you are a guest worth inviting beyond your profile as it is. And then once you start putting all this stuff into practice and you start appearing on podcasts, you're going to lose track of which shows you've been on. You're going to forget because sometimes shows are on a 6-month lag time from the time that you recorded. It's 6 months later. You're living in a new state. You've got a whole new life. You've got a new job, and you completely forgot about being on that podcast. And then it releases, and then you're not going to know about it. So, how in the world do you keep track of all your appearances? Well, you join podchaser.com, which is kind of like the IMDb of podcasts. And I can't believe that Apple Podcasts or the former Google Podcasts or anybody else, I can't believe that nobody else did it before them. And they will keep track of all sorts of podcasts. And then when your name pops up, you can claim your profile, you can fill it out, and then they'll tell you, hey, you were just on this other podcast. Or you can go to the suggested credits where they go, hey, we're not exactly sure if this is the real Jonathan Pritchard, because actually there is another Jonathan Pritchard who teaches at Stanford and does a whole bunch of research and stuff. And then he's on some podcasts too. So every once in a while, I look at the suggested credits, and then some of these would be like, absolutely, yep, that's me, that's me. That's the Wario version of me. So you can say, this one's me, that's not me, and then hit approve. It'll process, and then those appearances go under your profile. And then that way, you as the guest, you can scroll through and then go, oh, yeah. So at the beginning of this episode, when I was showing how many episodes I had been a part of, that's Podchaser. So if you're really serious about hitting that 150 mark, then by all means, please join Podchaser, establish your profile, claim your profile, and then that way, for your own sanity, you'll be able to keep track of what shows you've been on and when they've released, and then you can integrate that into part of your content strategy. So, that was a lot of stuff. There are entire college courses that we could do about any one of those details. So if you have any questions or you're going, okay, what about this as well in terms of making podcasts or being a guest on podcasts or how to brand yourself so that you could be on more shows, any of that stuff, I love talking about this. So if you're still here, let me know what your question is. Put it in the comments. I read every single comment that you will put down there, and I try to reply to as many as I can, at least in the first week or 2 weeks. So if you're seeing this way in the future, try me out. Leave a comment and see if I'll respond. I probably will, but I look forward to hearing from you. And I am going to trust YouTube to show you the next video of mine that makes the most sense for you, that you'd get the most value out of. And if you want more videos about branding, business, keeping track of great ideas, and being a content creator and a solopreneur, or just interested in transforming your life in general, please consider subscribing or hit the like button if you're not ready for that kind of commitment. And in the meantime, as you watch other stuff, remember, if you can change your mind, you can change your life.